Silence is something many people avoid. When there is no sound, no voice, no music, we often feel uncomfortable. Some people turn on the TV, even when they are not watching. Others play music all day, or always check their phone. Why do we do this? Why do we fear silence? In silence, we are left alone with our thoughts. We begin to hear what is inside us. Memories come back. Regrets may appear. Old pain, hidden under daily noise, starts to rise. In silence, we cannot run away. There is nothing to distract us. This can feel scary. Also, silence is not common in the modern world. We are used to movement and sound. From morning until night, we live in a fast, loud world. Many people believe that doing more means being better. So, when we stop and become still, we may feel guilty or lazy. But this is a misunderstanding. Silence is not empty. It is full of truth. It is not weakness. It is a return to the center of who we are. Long ago, in many cultures, silence was a teacher. In temples, mountains, and deserts, people searched for quiet. They understood that silence was not a problem. It was a path. Through silence, they met themselves more clearly. They saw their fears, but also their strength. We fear silence because it shows us the parts of ourselves we try to ignore. But those parts need care. They need to be seen. When we give them space in silence, healing begins. We become more whole. You do not need to go far to find silence. You only need to stop, even for a moment. Turn off the noise, put down the phone, and simply sit. It may be uncomfortable at first. That is normal. Stay with it. Like the ocean after a storm, your heart will slowly become calm. We fear silence, not because it is empty, but because it is honest. And in that honesty, we can find deep strength, if we are willing to stay and to listen. Today, it is hard to find a quiet place. We wake up to alarms. We hear cars, machines, voices, and endless notifications. Even when we are alone, our minds are busy. There is always something to check, something to do, something to worry about. This constant noise is not just around us, it is inside us too. The modern world teaches us to move fast. More information, more connections, more tasks. We believe we must always be active to be successful or useful. But this kind of life makes us tired, not only in the body, but also in the heart. Many people feel stressed, even when nothing is wrong. Many feel empty, even when surrounded by people. Why? Because we are losing the space between things. We move from one activity to the next without pause. There is no time to breathe deeply, no time to feel what we are truly feeling. The world tells us to keep going, but our inner voice is asking for rest. Noise can be like a wall. It keeps us from knowing ourselves. It also keeps us from connecting deeply with others. When we are always distracted, we cannot truly see or hear another person. Our relationships become shallow. We may talk, but we do not understand. Sometimes people say, "I need a break," but they take a break by adding more noise, watching more videos, scrolling more feeds, or talking more without meaning. What we really need is not more input. We need space. Silence gives us that space. In silence, we can begin to notice things again. The sound of the wind, the feeling of our breath, the presence of another person without words. These small things can bring us back to life in a gentle way. They remind us that we are more than just our schedules. The modern world is not wrong. It brings many good things, but it also brings too much. We must learn to choose when to step back. Silence is not against progress. It helps us move with balance and wisdom. When the noise becomes too loud, remember that silence is always near. It does not ask for anything. It only invites you to return. Silence can feel like a mirror. When everything around us becomes quiet, we begin to see what is within. This is not always easy. In silence, we cannot hide. We cannot pretend. There is no one to impress, no role to play. What remains is just ourselves, honest and uncovered. Many people avoid silence because they are afraid of what they might find. They fear sadness, anger, or confusion. But these feelings are not enemies. They are parts of us. Like children who were left alone too long, they are waiting to be noticed and accepted. Silence gives them a chance to speak. This inner mirror shows us not only our pain, but also our beauty. We may remember things we have forgotten, small joys, kind moments, dreams that once made our hearts light. These parts of us are still alive. Silence helps us return to them. Looking into this mirror can also show us how often we judge ourselves. In silence, we may hear a voice inside that says, "You're not enough," or "You should be doing more." These voices are not truth. They are echoes from the past, from the world, from fear, from comparison. When we sit with them without running away, they begin to lose their power. They speak less. We start to hear something deeper. In that deeper place, we find a quiet presence. It does not push or pull. It does not blame or demand. It simply is. That is the part of you that never changes. The part that watches everything with calm eyes. In silence, we remember this part. It is like seeing your reflection in still water. Clear. True. This mirror of silence is not always gentle, but it is always honest. And in honesty, there is freedom. When we stop pretending, we stop struggling. We begin to live from a place of truth. You do not need to fix everything you see in silence. Just watch. Just be with it. Like sitting with a friend who is hurting, your quiet presence is enough. Over time, the reflection becomes softer, kinder. You begin to see not only who you are, but who you have always been, behind the noise. When we think of listening, we often think of hearing words, music, or other sounds. But true listening goes beyond sound. It is a deeper kind of attention. In silence, this kind of listening becomes possible. We begin to notice what is not said, what is not loud, what is usually missed. In daily life, we are trained to listen with our ears, but not with our hearts. We hear voices, but we do not always feel their meaning. In silence, we are invited to listen in a new way. Not just to others, but also to ourselves and to the world around us. This listening is slow. It is gentle. It does not try to fix or judge. It simply stays open. When you sit quietly, you may begin to notice the space between sounds, the rhythm of your breath, the way light touches the wall. These small things begin to speak. They do not use language, but they carry meaning. You may feel a sense of peace or a quiet sadness. You may not be able to explain it. That is okay. Listening beyond sound does not need words. Sometimes, people think silence is empty, but in truth, silence is full. It is full of presence, full of quiet messages that can only be felt. When we stop trying to control every moment, these messages come forward. A tree outside your window, a memory from childhood, a sense that you are not alone. All of this can arise when we simply listen. This kind of listening also changes how we are with others. When you are not in a hurry to speak, you start to hear what others are really saying, even in their silence. You notice their eyes, their pauses, the emotions beneath their words. You begin to feel their truth, not just hear their voice. This brings us closer to each other, without needing to talk more. Silence teaches us that listening is not about doing something. It is about being present. When we are truly present, Even without words, connection happens. Healing happens. Understanding grows. To listen beyond sound is to listen with your whole being. It is to say, without speaking, I am here, I am listening, and that is enough. Many people feel afraid of being alone. They worry it means something is wrong with them. They fear it will lead to sadness, or that it means no one cares. But being alone is not the same as being lonely. In fact, time alone, when chosen with care, can be one of the most powerful ways to grow strong from within. Loneliness is a feeling of being disconnected, even when others are near. It comes from a sense of emptiness. But being alone in silence is different. It is not about being cut off. It is about returning to yourself. When you are alone, you are free to be exactly who you are. You do not need to perform or please anyone. You can rest in your own presence. At first, being alone without distraction can feel uncomfortable. Many people quickly reach for their phone or look for something to do. But if you stay with the feeling, something begins to shift. The discomfort fades and a gentle calm begins to rise. You may realize that you are not truly alone. There is something deep inside that is always with you. This quiet time allows you to meet yourself again. You may begin to hear your true thoughts, not the ones shaped by others. You may feel more honest, more grounded. You begin to enjoy your own company, not because it is perfect, but because it is real. In this kind of solitude, you become your own companion. You learn to take care of your own heart. You stop looking outside for approval or attention. This does not mean you stop needing others. It means your connection with others becomes healthier. You give from fullness, not from need. Great strength is born in this quiet aloneness. It teaches you that peace does not depend on others. It lives within you. It is always available when you return to yourself. To be alone without loneliness is to find home inside your own being. In that home, there is space to breathe, to rest, and to simply be. And from that place, you can walk into the world with a steady heart. Nature does not speak with words, but it is always communicating. A tree standing quietly in the wind, a river flowing over smooth stones, a bird resting on a branch without a sound. These are not just images, they are teachings. Nature speaks in the language of stillness, and if we become quiet, we can understand it. In the modern world, we often forget that we are part of nature. We live in buildings, use machines, and move quickly. But our bodies and minds still follow the rhythm of the earth. When we spend time in nature without noise, without talking, something inside begins to return to balance. We feel more whole, even if we do not understand why. Stillness in nature is not empty. It is full of quiet life. If you sit near a tree and simply watch, you may begin to feel its strength, not through movement, but through presence. A mountain does not need to speak to be powerful. A cloud does not need to hurry to be beautiful. They teach us something important. You do not need to rush or prove anything to be worthy. When we walk in a forest or sit by the sea without a phone, without a goal, we start to hear the deeper voice of the world. It is slow, patient, and kind. It reminds us that growth takes time, that change comes gently, that peace does not come from doing more, but from being present. Many people try to find peace through control, but nature shows us a different way. It shows us how to trust the flow of life, how to rest without guilt, how to be still and yet full of meaning. If you feel lost or tired, spend time with something natural. It could be a park, a tree, or even the sky through your window. Do not ask for answers. Just be there. Let the silence between you and nature speak. The language of stillness is quiet, but it is not weak. It has guided people for thousands of years. You only need to listen, not with your ears, but with your whole self. In daily life, time often feels like an enemy. We rush from one task to another. We check the clock again and again. We say things like, "I don't have time," or "time is running out." This creates stress, pressure, and a sense of never being enough. But when we enter silence, something changes. Time begins to feel different. Silence slows everything down. It creates space between moments. When you sit quietly, even for a short while, you may notice how long a minute can feel. You begin to sense the depth of each breath, each small sound, each shift in light. Time becomes less about numbers and more about experience. This is not the time of the busy world. It is not controlled by alarms, schedules, or deadlines. It is natural time, soft, flowing, open. In silence, you step out of the race and into the present. You stop thinking about what's next and begin to feel what is now. When we always move quickly, we lose touch with ourselves. We miss the simple moments that give life meaning. A cup of warm tea, a kind look from a stranger, the feeling of wind on the skin. These moments are small, but they are real. Silence helps us see them again. Many people try to manage time. But silence teaches us that time is not something to control. It is something to meet with presence. When we stop trying to use every second, we begin to feel more alive. We are not chasing time anymore. We are walking with it. This new relationship with time can bring great peace. You may still have responsibilities, of course, but you carry them with a calmer heart. You know that life is not a list to complete. It is a path to walk with awareness. In silence, time is not running away. It is sitting beside you, patiently. It says, "You do not need to hurry. You are already here." And in that simple truth, much of our fear begins to fade. We realize that what we need most is not more time, but more presence in the time we already have. Many people think silence only belongs in special places, mountains, temples, or retreats far from the city. But silence can also live in everyday life. You do not need to escape the world to find it. You only need to begin noticing the quiet that already exists around you. In the morning, before others wake up, there is a gentle stillness in the air. That is silence. When you take a slow breath before answering a message, that is silence. When you stand in line and choose not to check your phone, even for a moment, that too is silence. These are small moments, but they matter. Our daily life is full of tiny spaces that we usually fill with noise. We turn on the radio in the car. We scroll through our phones while eating. We speak even when there is nothing important to say. But what happens if we do less? What happens if we allow space between actions, between words? Silence is not about stopping everything. It is about making room. Room to feel. Room to breathe. Room to just be. You can bring this room into your life, even during work or with family. It is a matter of choice. You can pause before replying. You can walk a little slower. You can look out the window without needing to explain why. These simple acts create a kind of inner space. In that space, peace can grow. You begin to respond, not react. You feel more grounded, even in busy moments. And the people around you may notice too. Your calm becomes a quiet gift to others. You do not need to be perfect. Some days will be noisy. Some moments will feel rushed. That is okay. But if you can return to silence, even for just one breath, it will always welcome you back. Silence in everyday life is not about being separate from the world. It is about being more present in it. By choosing stillness, even in small ways. You remember who you are beneath all the movement. And from that quiet center, life begins to feel more open, more real. When we enter silence, we may expect peace and comfort. But often, something else appears first. Discomfort, sadness, old memories, or fears. These are our inner shadows, the parts of ourselves we usually try to avoid. In silence, there is nowhere for them to hide. And so, they rise. At first, this can feel unpleasant. Many people stop here. They say, silence is too hard, and return to noise and distraction. But these shadows are not here to hurt us. They are asking to be seen. They are parts of us that have been left in the dark for too long. Your shadow may be a voice that says you are not good enough. It may be a memory of failure or shame. It may be anger that you never fully expressed. Whatever it is, it has lived quietly inside you, waiting. Silence gives it the space to come forward, not to cause pain, but to be healed. When you face your shadow with honesty and gentleness, something changes. You realize that these parts of you are not enemies. They are wounded, not evil. They carry old pain, but also deep wisdom. They have something to teach you about your needs, your fears, your strength. In quiet moments, instead of pushing the shadow away, try staying with it. You do not need to fight it. You do not need to fix it right away. Just be there. Let it speak. Let it be felt. Often, what the shadow needs most is your presence. This is not easy work, but it is real. It brings you closer to your whole self. You stop pretending to be only light, only joy, only strength. You begin to see yourself as a complete human being, with light and shadow, joy and pain, courage and fear. And as you face your inner shadows, they begin to soften. They lose their sharp edges. They become part of your story, but not your master. You carry them with more kindness, and in that kindness, you become more free. Silence is not always gentle, but it is always honest. And through that honesty, you grow. Not away from your shadows, but by learning to walk with them. True strength does not come from how loud we speak or how busy we are. It does not come from controlling others or always being right. Real strength comes quietly. It grows from the inside out, like a tree with deep roots. And silence is the soil where those roots can grow. When you spend time in silence, something begins to rebuild within you. Not quickly, not loudly, but steadily. You start to feel more solid, more stable. You become less shaken by outside things, the opinions of others, the rush of the world, the ups and downs of life. They still exist, but they do not control you. Your strength is no longer borrowed from outside. It rises from within. This kind of strength is not hard or cold. It is calm and warm. It allows you to stand tall without pushing others down. It lets you say no when needed, and yes when it feels true. It helps you stay steady during hard times, not because you feel nothing, but because you are rooted in something deeper. Silence teaches you how to return to that depth again and again. Even when life becomes noisy, even when your heart feels heavy, the quiet space inside you remains. It is always there. You only need to remember it. Rebuilding from the inside out means learning to trust yourself again. Not the voice of fear, but the quiet knowing beneath it. You begin to believe that you can face whatever comes, not by fighting, but by being present, by staying grounded, by acting from a place of truth. And as you rebuild this strength, others may feel it too. You do not need to speak about it. Your presence will carry it. Your calm will offer comfort. Your quiet confidence will become a light for others who are still searching. This strength is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to who you already are. beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the expectations. In silence, you meet that self again. And when you do not need to prove anything. You are already enough. You are already strong. The world may not always see it, but you will feel it. And that is what matters most. Silence is not a place we visit once and then leave behind. It is a path, a quiet, steady path we can return to again and again. Each time we choose silence, even for a short moment, we come closer to ourselves. We remember what truly matters. We return to something real. You do not need to be perfect on this path. There is no need to rush, no need to follow any strict rule. Some days will be noisy, some moments may be uncomfortable. But silence is patient. It waits without judgment. It welcomes you back, every time, with gentle arms. As you walk through life, you may begin to notice silence in new places, in a pause between words, in the way sunlight touches your skin, in the stillness of your own breath. These small moments are not empty. They are full of life. They remind you that peace does not always shout. It often whispers. You may discover that silence is not about turning away from the world, but about being more deeply present in it. It helps you see clearly, feel honestly, and live more gently. Over time, it becomes not just something you experience, but something you carry within you. If this message has spoken to something inside you, I am deeply grateful. Thank you for spending this time with me, and with your own quiet heart. Whether you listened in stillness, or with the sounds of daily life around you, your presence has meaning. I also want to warmly thank those of you who have liked this video, subscribed to the channel, shared a kind comment, or offered a super thanks. Your support makes it possible to continue creating these quiet spaces, where we can meet not in noise, but in stillness. Your kindness is felt, your presence is appreciated, and I hope that wherever you are in the world, you can find moments of silence, not as escape, but as a return to your strength, a return to your truth, a return to yourself. Thank you truly.